It is indeed an incredible gift to be with you all in worship today at Second Baptist Church. I told the group at the 9 o'clock service that this gift has even given an additional benefit. It got Adam and me out of Atlanta, Georgia, where they don't know how to handle snow, and brought us to a place where you actually know what you're doing with it. So thanks be to God for that. But we've been looking forward to this visit long before there was a winter weather advisory issued for the metro Atlanta area. For months, we've been eager for the chance to be here, to celebrate and spend time with Emmett, but also to have this opportunity to say thank you to Second Baptist Church, Liberty. To say a word of gratitude for your leadership, not just partnership, but leadership in the life of the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship here in the Heartland region and literally all over the world. You have led through personal commitment. To look around this room this morning, I see several people who have invested time and energy over years in the health and vitality of our fellowship. I see Harold Phillips, who for years was the coordinator of CBF Missouri, now CBF Heartland. Thank you. I see my colleague Jeff Langford, who not only coordinates CBF Heartland now, he also serves on our CBF Global Staff Identity Team. Thank you, Jeff. Christy and Jason have given time beyond measure to offer leadership, not just in their ministry in this community, but across our fellowship. Just so you all know, even pastors get called by nominating committees to serve on other committees, and sometimes pastors and chaplains get called to serve on the nominating committee that nominates those people. But those opportunities and others, thank you for saying yes. Emmett, thank you for offering leadership already in our fellowship. And Connie, for years and years, as a member of our CBF then national staff, through fierce and tireless commitment, and even in this ministry place here at Second Baptist Liberty, you've demonstrated love and commitment and a desire for the life and vitality of the CBF community. On my own behalf and on the behalf of a fellowship, thank you for doing things that many people saw and things necessary for our health and vitality that maybe none of the rest of us even know. So to be in this room today is to be in the presence of leaders in the CBF Global community, the CBF Heartland community, but your congregation collectively is also a leader. You are a leader in our mission endeavors from Thailand to Haiti to Slovakia to the Dakotas. You are the presence of Christ here in Liberty. You are on the leading edge of new innovation in how we call and prepare leaders for the church today and tomorrow. You pray fervently, you serve actively, you give generously, and you are joining with us in responding to the Holy Spirit's invitation that we become a community in which we are equipped for bold faithfulness so that we can participate by sheer grace in God's transformation of the world. CBF would not exist without you. Now, you'll be relieved to know I did not come here today to do a denominational infomercial. But I cannot stand here today without saying thank you personally and collectively to the congregation of Second Baptist Church. I do wonder if you heard that 11th verse of the 2nd chapter of John when Greg read it so well just a few moments ago. Jesus did this, the first of his signs, at Cana in Galilee. He revealed his glory. His disciples believed in him. The language is already lofty of the sort we would expect from the Gospel of John, the gospel that opens with those powerful words. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. All things came into being through him. Without him, not one single thing came into being. The Word became flesh and lived among us, full of grace and truth. We have beheld his glory. When we think about beholding glory, beholding the glory of God, we think about that cloud that descended on Mount Sinai, or that cloud that led the Israelites out of Egypt. Maybe we think of the dazzling scene on the Mount of Transfiguration when Jesus saw himself when Peter, James, and John saw Jesus in conversation with Moses and Elijah. Maybe we think of that moment when Jesus summoned Lazarus from the tomb. Maybe we think of those remarkable moments when Jesus demonstrated glory. The very presence of God, the very power of God, the relentless, remarkable, resilient, resurrecting love of God. But John says here, Jesus did this, the first of his signs. And my 11th grade English teacher said it was always important to pay attention to what words like this refer to. And in the case of John chapter 2, verse 11, this does not refer to a theophany at Mount Sinai. It does not refer to the summoning of a dead man from the tomb. It does not refer to the feeding of 5,000 people. No, it refers to what I would describe as an unexpected outbreak of glory. Everything about this first 11 verses of John 2 is unlikely. It's unexpected. It's not the sort of stuff you would usually attach the word glory to. Just consider the setting. Jesus and his disciples and Jesus' mother are at a wedding feast in Cana of Galilee. I bet if you were to summon a committee to nominate the place Jesus was first likely to reveal his glory, nobody would have said Cana. In fact, if this had not happened, nobody would visit Cana. They made an industry out of this in Cana. I've been there and beheld its glory. That's new at 11, by the way. Cana is an ordinary backwoods town in the Galilee. It's not Mount Sinai. It's not the Temple Mount. It's not the Mount of Transfiguration. It's not the beautiful vista by the Sea of Galilee. It's just a town on the road and someone's getting married. It's the most ordinary place, ordinary transitions in life. No one would ever suspect that would be the kind of place that would be ground zero for an outbreak of glory. What's more, you would not expect an outbreak of glory to occur in response to the catalyst for this scene. This is not world hunger, y'all. This is not deep-seated injustice, my friends. This is the kind of stuff that I will have to confess I would be prone to scoff at. We're halfway through the wedding feast and the host has run out of wine. Really? This is the precipitating catalyst for an outbreak of glory? I mean, I know people would say, good thing. What's the problem? And then, as if that weren't enough, it's not just like the most unlikely place or the most unexpected catalyst. There's some other stuff amiss here. Like the timing is all wrong. I mean, I'm a Baptist. Don't take my word for this, but take the chief steward's word. If you're going to serve really fine, expensive wine, according to the text, the custom is to do it at the beginning of the feast and not halfway through when folks are too drunk to know the difference. And that's in the text. if you're going to offer something this beautiful, this excellent, this amazing, this astonishing, why would you do it among a group of people who cannot recognize it, who cannot identify it, who don't even have enough orientation about them anymore to reach out and take it and appreciate it? These folks are not on a pilgrimage to glory. They're not following spiritual practices. They're not singing old or new songs. They're not listening to denominational infomercials or sermons. They're not coming to worship, seeking an encounter with God. They're distracted, numb, unaware. And this is a crowd that becomes the witnesses for the first outbreak of glory. Now you see why I say this is unexpected? And then there's the event itself. It's not just that the problem seems unusual. I mean, compared to raising dead people and clouds ascending and thunder pealing and lightning flashing, turning water into wine. The same United Methodist Bishop Will Willimon, who I quoted on the cover of the bulletin, has described this whole sign as trivial. I want to ask him if he could do it. But nonetheless, he described it as trivial, inconsequential, not worth the word glory, you would think. Unlikely, unexpected, in setting, in form. Unlikely defines those who witness it. But I want to ask you this morning, isn't that the gospel? Praise God from whom all blessings flow. The gospel is not that glory is revealed only to those who know how to find it. The gospel is not that only those who know the right practices or who are in the right condition or who have done the right things or who have gone all the way through the 4 Sundays of Advent and know all the prayer practices get to say, we have beheld his glory. The gospel is not only those of us on our best days taste and see that God is love. Is not the gospel of God in Jesus Christ that God ambushes us in love and embraces us unaware in glory and reveals his glory to us when we do not know how to see it, when we do not know how to search for it, when we cannot be described in any sense as worthy of it? And isn't that especially good news 2 years into a pandemic season that has numbed all of us and deadened our senses and made it harder for us to pay attention and feel as we normally feel and act as we normally act, because even when we have been agile and innovative and faithful, we're exhausted and we don't always know how to pay attention, and we just long for the day when we can say life after the pandemic and mean it. We long for a day when justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream, and each will live secure in the presence and love of God. But we live in a world that is so torn apart and so divided, in a moment that's so challenging that we are all worn down and worn out and distracted and unsure of what will come next. Don't we need to know that it is precisely in those kinds of moments where we do not know how to pray as we ought, and we do not know how to order our lives as we once did, that we could still be on the precipice of an outbreak of glory? That God's love and grace and power can sneak up on us and confound us and remake us and take our breath away. I've been reflecting this week on times recently and times long ago when I experienced and have been changed by an unexpected outbreak of glory. You won't believe it, y'all, but one happened this week in a staff meeting. Now, I know here at Second Liberty, all staff meetings are filled with outbreaks of glory. So what I want you to do is just imagine what it's like everywhere else in the world. People don't usually leave most staff meetings saying, "We have beheld his glory." But this past Tuesday, we had a called meeting of all of our global missions field personnel so they could hear our friend Stephen Porter share news of his resignation, and so as coordinator of global missions, and so that I could speak immediate words in the wake of that announcement. Those are not the kind of things you should do by chat or text. People's lives and calling and present and future require whatever measure of presence you can muster. But as we were doing the things we were supposed to do, I was staggered. Because there on like 3 screens of the Zoom squares, I saw almost 60 people who serve on 4 continents. I saw on a screen the reach of our fellowship's engagement in God's mission of love in the world. And I saw in the faces of field personnel who have served 5 years and 20 years and 25 years a relentless, remarkable, resilient, unbelievable determination to press on in faith, even in the face of circumstances that make our 2 years here look ordinary. When I saw on one screen all those people in all those time zones and all those cultures speaking all those languages, and I saw the innovation and agility and faithfulness that had allowed them to continue to cultivate beloved community and bear witness to Jesus and seek the actual transformation of the world in the midst of this most difficult time, I saw glory. God at work through people linked to a community of congregations like Second Baptist, connecting us with a mission in the world and friends around the world, also responding to God's call in Jesus. I beheld glory and believed anew. He did it again. Another of his signs. Then I remembered that day so long ago when I was in middle school. To my middle and high school friends in the room, I'll just go ahead and establish some trust, that was like well into the last century. And I'm about to prove it. But when I was 13, our home church welcomed a new minister of music. And among the many challenges he was given was to resurrect the youth choir. Now let me tell you about the holy privileges members of the youth choir got to have. This is what he had to invite us to. He had to persuade us, 8th grade guys, that it would be better for us to come to youth choir practice on Sunday afternoon and sing for the weekly Sunday night service, even for the once a month Sunday night church business meeting, than it would be to stay home and watch the NFL playoffs. Who wants to be here tonight at 7:15? Jason's preaching. It's going to be marvelous. He's got to clean up some things I've said today. That was the invitation. So to pull this off, he had to engage in a holy practice called bribery. Now bear in mind, back in that prior century, people didn't get out much. And so he was able to do something I don't think Chip could do now. He said, all right, if you'll give me every Sunday afternoon for a year, so I can teach you to sing and make music to God. The next summer, I'll take you on a choir tour to the Northeast. He had not heard us sing when he made this offer. Well, we said yes, so he had to say yes. And so in June of that year, we set off on a tour to a whole set of large venues in the Northeast. No, these were the places that would have a youth choir of 50 who didn't know how to sing for their Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, or Wednesday night gathering. Since I work for you, I need to be really transparent. We were terrible. Not only did we not know how to sing, we also didn't really know how to act in that kind of circumstance. And so like several days into the trip, we were told, if y'all don't get your act together, we're going to just go home. Well, somehow we got our act together enough to get to the last night of the tour. We were on our way home. We'd been in upstate New York. The last service was in a little town called Tolland, Connecticut on a Wednesday night. There were like 15 or 20 people in the congregation. That was well before the pandemic. And there were like 50 of us on the stage. And we sang our songs out of tune. And we shuffled and dashed. And it was over. The pastor of the church came forward and said, I'd like to invite everybody to be seated. I wonder if anybody in the congregation would like to say anything to this choir. And a lady sitting about where Connie's sitting today raised her hand and said, I'd like to say something to this choir. We all braced ourselves. Here it comes. This is not the New York Times review, but it's not going to be good. And she said, I want you all to know that I've had an incredibly difficult year. My husband died of cancer. Just weeks ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had started to wonder if the love of God was real. But then y'all sang that song, God's love is like a mighty river flowing free, and I knew it had to be true. We were stunned. We couldn't have been any more unlikely, unprepared, unexpected, unworthy, unqualified, ungifted. But when I look back on it, it was the first of the signs I saw. In that moment, Jesus revealed his glory. And in that moment, I discovered it wasn't just that I was a recipient of an outbreak of glory, that I had somehow been drawn into it, so that like those servants who had drawn the water and then taken it to the aghast chief steward who saw that it had become wine, somehow I had not just been overwhelmed by glory, but I had been drawn into it, and that in spite of unworthiness, glory. Jesus did this. The first of the signs I remember. We beheld his glory. We turned toward believing. I bet if you reflect on your own encounters with unexpected glory, you'll find that it usually works just the same way. It overwhelms you. It redefines you. It overtakes you until you become an agent of it. I can't help but wonder if that's not what the calling of the church is in this unlikely, unprecedented, unimaginable, difficult moment. I wonder if it's your calling here at Second Baptist Liberty, not just to pay attention to all the unexpected outbreaks of glory, but to become signs of that glory in this community and around the world. That seems like a tall order for you. I leave you with this. And it's my ultimate rebuttal to our brother in Christ, Bishop Williman. If you find it unusual that glory breaks out in unexpected, unlikely places and makes of people new wine and gives people new mission and turns them into instruments of glory, you should pay attention to a throwaway phrase in the text. It's a clue. On the third day. You see? On the third day there was a wedding. And early in the morning, on the third day after Good Friday, a few women went to a tomb, prepared to be undertakers. To give a man a proper burial. They rounded the bend. There was this question rolling through their minds. Who will roll away the stone? It's so heavy. But as they rounded the bend, there was the biggest surprise of all. The biggest ambush of glory ever. One that reverberates through the centuries. They went as undertakers. They were made new wine. They became the first preachers. First sermon ever preached was preached by women. I'm the add-in. They were overtaken. They were summoned. They went back to Peter and James and John carrying the latest cup of water. The best wine saved for last. Jesus did this. The first of his signs at Cana in Galilee. His disciples believed in him. Wow.